So you're getting ready to do your first track day, and I don't care who you are, it feels like a major undertaking. I can assure you, from the moment you roll down pit lane, you'll be hooked. There's nothing like taking your bike out where it was meant to be ridden.
Will you go to bed?
There's no cars, no police, no whiny neighbors at 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday.
So before you put on your sexy one-piece leathers, I'm sure you're gonna go online, get some info, get on Facebook, YouTube, hence why you're here, and try to get an idea of what to expect or things to do. And there's plenty of information out there, and a lot of it is wrong. I'm not necessarily a pro, but personally, I've had essentially 2 first track days, one in my late teens, and then again after not riding on track for 12 years in my early 30s. So I've kind of got an idea on things that I would have liked to have known or remembered or, you know, whatever. So in this video, we're gonna go through 3 things that may be beneficial to know. And if you guys like this, then we'll do another 3 in a future video. So let's get right into it. All right, so your first tip, trick, or track thing to remember for your first track day is you are going to be slow. I don't care what sort of street king you think you are. I mean, there's no shortage of videos of guys who are insanely quick in canyons and stuff. Going to the track for the first time and getting their butts kicked. Which, I mean, it's not a race, but those guys seem to have that mentality. Unless you are a freak of nature, we've interviewed a couple of them. Brian Mullins, or Tuna, and Joe Giannato. Those guys, I think, got bumped all the way to advanced on their first track day. That is not normal. My first track day, I'd been riding for like 9 months or something. I was on a GS 500F with bias ply tires, and I was passing guys on leader bikes thinking I was hot shit. Then I saw my pictures at the end of the day, and I have about 8 degrees of lean angle, if that. And I was slow. And then then I went home and thought about it and rode more. And when I went back next time, I was dragging knee, but I was still slow. Basically, no matter what, when you're at the racetrack, there is going to be someone, if not a bunch of people, who are faster than you. I mean, look at even MotoGP racing. Even the fastest guy in the world has days where they can't do anything. You know, they're qualifying outside of the top 10 or whatever, and they're leading the championship. That's just the way it is. You're not likely to be fast. It's not a race anyway, and the big thing is to just be aware of that and stay humble. You don't want to create a situation where you're getting hot or competitive, because in a track day environment, you're never going to learn from that mentality, and you're only putting yourself and your property and everyone else around you at risk. So that would be tip number 1. Tip number 2, don't obsess or go crazy over tires. You are a first-time track rider. You are not going to be setting lap records. You do not need slicks. I'm kind of a mid to top end intermediate rider, and the only reason I'm contemplating switching to slicks is because from what I understand at Jennings, they get a little better life. So I'm gonna spend the $30 extra and potentially get an extra half or whole day out of the tires. I am not outriding the DOTs, nowhere close to outriding the DOTs. And as a first-time track rider, I was on, and second time, dragging knee, I was on bias ply tires. So you do not need to follow this internet obsession with tires and tire wear. What I would recommend is whatever tires you have, look up the manufacturer settings or recommendations for tire pressure, and follow that. You don't need tire warmers, you don't need any of that. You know, even at my pace, the only reason I'm really using tire warmers is A, it helps protect the tire to go through less heat cycles, and B, I don't like wasting a couple laps trying to get up to speed when you only have a 15 or 20 minute session. I believe with slicks you really need to use them, but it's not really for my pace. I am not that fast. And there's, you know, I've seen coaches much faster than me who pull in between sessions and just wait in pit lane and then pull back out with cold tires. So you do not need slicks, you do not need race tires, you do not need warmers. I mean, my first few track days, even on once I got to the SV650 and I was running in the low 130s at Jennings, I didn't have warmers and I didn't pay attention to hot pressures or anything. I literally just took my street pressures and dropped it like 2 or 3 pounds a tire and then just rode like that. You know, and then if things felt slippery, I'd maybe drop it a little bit, thinking the tire was overheating. But at first track day pace, you could probably get away with just leaving your tire pressures where they are. Maybe drop them a couple pounds because it's gonna get hotter than it does on the street. So the best thing is check with the manufacturer, see what they recommend. And if the tire doesn't really have any track recommendations or anything, talk to your instructors, your control riders, your coaches, and be honest. You know, your pace is slow. You don't need to be running the tire pressures that a pro is running. I, for a fact, know a guy who was one of those street badasses. Quickest guy ever on the street. If you listen to him, if you rode with him, you knew better. But and he read somewhere online that the pros have their cold tire pressures at like 17 psi, which I don't even think that's close to legit. But he read that they had it in, I think it was like mid to low teens as their cold tire pressures. He insisted on starting an intermediate, didn't go into novice, didn't get the control laps, nothing, against everyone's advice on the tire pressures and the group to start in. And I believe it was the first, second, or third lap of the day, and he bought leathers and he did all this, did all that. So the first, second, or third lap of the day, he high-sided in 7, 8, or 9 because he had no air in the tires, no grip, and was cranking on the throttle like he knew what he was doing. And even though the bike was fine, he didn't ride the rest of the day, and he never went to the track again. So this kind of also ties back into the being humble thing. If you think you know better, if you think you're hot shit, you're probably going to have a bad time, and you're probably not going to enjoy it, and you're probably not going to go back. And trust me, there is nothing like it. So take your time, do things correctly and slowly and at your own pace, and not what you think you can do. And you will find that this is the best place to be. And you will find out why so many people stop street riding once they've been to the track. All right, so last first track day tip for this video is gonna be tape over your speedometer. This was a big one that was hammered into me when I was first starting to track ride, especially as a irresponsible teenager. The temptation to look at your speedometer is going to be there. Most of our bikes aren't even geared correctly, so the speedometers aren't working right anyway. And there's other things you need to be paying attention to. So what a lot of people do is they tape up, or if it's a full-blown race bike, they just remove their speedometer and just leave a tack, because that's all you need. Theoretically, you also know the sound of your bike well enough that you don't even need the tack, but I would not recommend removing that. But yeah, so tape over your speedometer, just completely get rid of that temptation. Just no reason to be looking at it, so if you remove the temptation, you solve that problem. So that's gonna do it for part 1 on this series. If you guys like this, I will do some more. Again, these are in no particular order or anything, just kind of as they come to me, things that I think are valuable to remember when you're starting out. So I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if there's anything in particular that you're looking for information on for the future. So thanks very much. Peace.